If you've ever watched your child shut down in a noisy restaurant, melt down under the bright lights in a grocery store, or completely lose it over a seam or a tag that just feels wrong to them, you know how confusing and exhausting these moments can be. You're doing your best, and yet it can feel like the world is just too much for your child to handle. Too often, these reactions get brushed off as behavioral problems, or your kid just needs a whooping, or minimized with phrases like, they'll grow out of it. But what if these moments aren't behavioral at all? What if they're actually your child's nervous system waving a white flag, overwhelmed, and asking for help? What if sensory overload isn't about discipline, it's not about personality or parenting mistakes, but about how your child's nervous system is processing the world around them? And what if understanding that neurological piece could finally bring clarity to why things feel so hard and open the door to real, lasting change? So this video is for parents raising children who struggle with sensory overload and overstimulation. Whether your child has been diagnosed with autism, ADHD, or sensory processing disorder, or you simply know deep down that something isn't quite right. We're going to look at sensory challenges through a neurological lens and then unpack what we call the perfect storm. So this is a combination of stressors that can shape nervous system development and sensory processing. So most importantly, we're going to talk about how neurologically focused chiropractic care, how it supports the nervous system at its foundation, helping children move from constant overwhelm toward better regulation, better resilience, and ease in their everyday lives. What makes this even more important is how common these struggles have become. So according to the CDC, up to 40% of school-age children today are living with at least one chronic health condition. And sensory processing challenges are showing up more and more often. Yet most traditional approaches stop at the surface. They focus on avoiding triggers, modifying the environment, or just managing behaviors without ever asking, why is the child's nervous system reacting this way in the first place? Now, in the medical world, these challenges are often separated into different boxes. Autism over here, ADHD over here, anxiety, sensory processing disorder. But when we step back and we actually look at the bigger picture, many of these diagnoses share a common thread. They are all connected by how the nervous system is functioning, how it's adapting, and how it's responding to stress. So when the nervous system is stuck in a state of overload, sensory input that should feel really manageable can become overwhelming, unpredictable, and exhausting for a child. Now, to really understand sensory overload, we've got to zoom out a little bit, and we've got to look at what's happening within the nervous system. So overstimulation, this occurs when the brain is receiving more sensory information than it can organize and it can process efficiently. So sounds, lights, movements, textures, even internal sensations, they're all sending signals to the brain at the same time. And then when too many of those signals are coming in all at once, the system gets backed up. So a helpful way to think about that, it's kind of like a traffic jam within the nervous system. The messages are trying to get through, but there's congestion, there's confusion, and there's overload. So this isn't a behavior problem, it's a processing problem rooted in how the brain and the nervous system are functioning together. Now, at the center of this process is the autonomic nervous system. So this system controls how the body responds to stress and how it recovers from it. So this system has two main modes or branches. One is the sympathetic state, often called fight or flight or go mode, when the body is alert, it's protective, and on high guard. The other is the parasympathetic state, or the brakes of the nervous system, sometimes referred to as the rest and digest, where the body can calm, regulate, heal, and grow. In many children struggling with sensory overload, the nervous system is stuck, spending far too much time in that fight or flight gas pedal state. When there is disruption within the nervous system, or what we call subluxation in chiropractic, the brain receives distorted or incomplete information from the body, making it harder to shift out of that stress mode. And then over time, this can show up as trouble sleeping, digestive challenges, heightened anxiety, emotional outbursts, and difficulty regulating those big feelings. For many children, this pattern doesn't begin with just like one event. Sensory overload often develops from what we call a perfect storm of stressor that affects the nervous system early on. Prenatal stress can influence how a baby's brain and sensory system develop even before birth. And then birth itself can be physically demanding on a newborn's nervous system, especially when interventions like C-sections, forceps, or vacuum extractions are involved. And then as children grow, ongoing stressors such as illnesses, injuries, emotional stress, and environmental overload, they can continue to layer on top of an already stressed out nervous system. And then over time, the nervous system adapts by staying on that high alert, even when there is no immediate danger. When a child is living in this state, the signs of overstimulation can show up in many different ways. So some children experience physical symptoms like headaches or stomach aches, nausea, or constant fatigue. Others show more emotional signs such as being irritable, anxiety, or sudden emotional explosions that just seem to come out of nowhere. Behaviorally, you may notice difficulty focusing, frequent meltdowns, or a strong need to escape stimulation by hiding, shutting down, or seeking quiet spaces. These are not random behaviors. They are warning signs from a nervous system that it is overwhelmed and it's struggling to regulate. Now, this is where neurologically focused chiropractic care can really play a powerful role. So, using advanced insight scans, we're actually able to assess how the nervous system is functioning. We can identify areas of nervous system dysregulation and stress patterns that may be keeping a child stuck in that fight or flight state. Through gentle, precise adjustments, we work to reduce that neurological interference and release stored sympathetic stress. As the nervous system begins to feel safer, the parasympathetic system, or the brakes, can activate more consistently, allowing the body and the brain to regulate more effectively. Rather than simply managing symptoms or avoiding triggers, this approach supports the nervous system at its foundation, helping children build resilience, adaptability, and a greater sense of ease in their everyday world. So if you are tired of watching your child struggle with sensory overload and you're ready to move beyond managing symptoms, the next step is to look at what's happening within the nervous system. At E320 Chiropractic, our focus is on identifying and addressing the root cause of these challenges, not just the outward behaviors. So using advanced insight scanning technology, we're able to see how your child's nervous system is functioning, where it's under stress, and how it's adapting to the world around them. And then from there, we create a care plan that's specific to your child, to their history, and their unique nervous system needs. The first step toward real healing, lasting change, is simply gathering the right information. A neurologically focused insight scan allows us to measure how your child's nervous system is regulating and responding to stress. The scan is gentle, it's non-invasive, and can be done with your child just sitting next to you or right in your lap. It gives us a clear picture of how their sensory system is processing input, where it may be overwhelmed, and how we can support it in finding more balance and calm. If you're ready to learn more about what your child's nervous system is telling us and how we can help them experience the world with greater ease, go ahead and visit the link in our bio, or you can reach out to our office. We're here to help your child move through life feeling more regulated, resilient, and supported.